All right. So this is the Precal A review 1.1 to 1.3. We'll just do this real quick. It's only got a few problems. Honey, it's in Schoology. Okay. So list the intercepts. All right, so somebody asked about this earlier. List the intercepts of this. As a reminder, I put in parentheses, or they are points. So the equation we have is y equals x squared minus x minus 12 over x squared minus 2. And my intercepts are going to be points. And if you forget which one is which, just look at the graph. That's an x-intercept, so the y is 0. So for the x-intercept, the y is 0. For the y-intercept, the x is 0. So I'll just plug them in. This one's always easier for me, so I'm going to plug in 0 for the x's. What do I get when I plug in 0 for the x's? 6. So my y-intercept is 6. Now I'm going to let y be 0. So I'm going to solve this equation. Whenever I have an equation with a fraction, I get rid of the fraction. So if I multiply this denominator over to here, it just disappears because that's a 0. Now how do I solve that? What do I do with that? You have to solve that equation. What kind of equation is that?
Quadratic.
That's a quadratic. So we can factor it, or use the quadratic formula. You're figuring out the x's that give you a 0. So it looks like there's 2 of them. -3 and 4. So whatever this picture looks like, it crosses the x-axis twice, which is fine. All right, now we've got another one of these weird pictures, and we are going to talk about domain and range and all that stuff. So here we go. What about domain? Tell me about the x's. All reals. How do I know? It goes all the way to the left and all the way to the right, and there's no breaks in it. That's all reals. What about the range, though? The range, we got an issue here. Because the range, it goes all the way down, but it doesn't go all the way up. So what's the highest point? The highest point's 3. So it goes from -infinity up to 3. That would be my range. Now, because it has a top, is it bounded above? Yeah, by y equals 3. It's bounded above at y equals 3. That's the high point. Is it bounded below? No. Arrows forever. Zeros. What's that another word for? Zeros are x-intercepts. Zeros are x-intercepts. Guys, stop and think. When you use the 0 button on your calculator, weren't you looking for where it crosses the x-axis? Zeros are x-intercepts. So you got them right there in front of you. You don't even need to solve for them. What are your zeros?
3 and -1.
-1, 0, and 3, 0. Those are your x-intercepts. That's where we cross the x-axis. Is this picture increasing anywhere? It's increasing on the whole left side of the picture. Well, actually it's not. Be careful. It's increasing from negative infinity to 1, 2, 3, negative 3. Would you agree that it's increasing from negative infinity to negative 3? We're looking at x coordinates now. So all the way from the left side till I get to negative 3. Now what happens between negative 3 and negative 2? Stays the same. So it doesn't start increasing again until it gets to negative 2. And then it increases all the way till what? 1.5. So at first I thought it was increasing on the whole side, but it's not because it's got that little block of time when it stays the same. Yep. Yep. Because you're moving left to right. And then I squeezed in end behavior. Remember, end behavior is always what happens as we move to the right and what happens as we move to the left. So looking at this picture, what happens on both ends? Down. So both of these are negative infinities. Both of them are downs. Anybody have a question about one of those pieces to that problem? A through G. All right, sketch. Okay, that's an easy one for you. What shape? V. It's a V. Absolute value is a V. Not Ving out of the origin though, because what happened to this? It got moved up 1, so it is Ving from the point 0, 1. And we're going to be sure to label that point 0, 1. Everybody okay with that? Removable discontinuity. Oh my goodness. What is that another name for? Hole. So this is just saying find the hole. Well, what do you have to do in order to find the hole? Factor. Because the only way to get a hole is to cancel. And you can't cancel unless you factor. So that's the same one we had before. X minus 4, x plus 3 over x minus 3x plus 3. So there's your hole. So your hole is going to be at the point where x is negative 3, because that's what canceled out. And then how do we find the y? Plug negative 3 right back into here. So we end up with 7, 6, because it's negative over negative. Anybody have a question about that? Okay, all right. Let's finish up our notes and then we'll go to lunch. We only have a little bit more to do in our notes.